So hello, everyone, and thank you to Jenny for inviting Christine and myself along to these calls on a regular basis so that we can keep you updated with all the recent changes to the gene and variant curation interfaces, the GCI and GCI. As Jenny said, today I'll be showing you the updates to the GCI, followed by Christine updating you on the VCI. As always, you can view the full list of features in our release notes, which can be found in our GitHub wiki. You can see the URL here at the bottom of the screen. Now, while the VCI is a community curation tool and has both like ClinGen and non-ClinGen users, the GCI is restricted to ClinGen gene curation expert panels only, that's GCEPs. As of our last release, which was launched over the last weekend, this policy is now also reflected in the GCI itself. So now only if you're logged in and curating as part of a GCEP affiliation will you be able to create a new gene disease record in the GCI. If you're not working with the GCEP affiliation, you'll see that the new gene curation button in the header and the create gene disease record link in the toolbox on the left-hand side of this panel will be grayed out and they'll be unusable. If anyone, sorry, I've got a bit of a sore throat today. I hope it's not coronavirus. If an individual or someone from a GCEP affiliation manages to search directly to the Create New Gene Disease Record page, they'll find that the Submit button has also been grayed out. So there's no way that the non-GCEP can create a new record. The next new feature is all about improving accessibility of records within the GCI. When you're on the landing page of a gene disease record, there's this helpful table at the top that shows you all the classifications for the record in the GCI. This chain link icon that you see next to the like approved and provisional statuses will link you directly to the evidence. Sorry. I need a sip of water. I know. The chain link icon, so that's the evidence summary I was telling you about. They'll link you directly to the evidence summaries for those classifications. Previously, you could only view the approved classifications of other users, but now you can also view all their provisional classifications as well. So for instance, in this made-up example that I did, I'm curating as part of like ClinGen Test Curator Affiliation 1, and as you can see, my affiliation is on the top row. Beneath that are two classifications from other affiliations, and the provisional classification now has a link icon that I could use if I wanted to go and view their evidence summary. Next up, we have general notes on PubMed articles. I'm sure you've all noticed that when you click on abstracts in the PubMed panel on the left-hand side, and they appear in this central panel, that you now have extra fields that you can fill in and save information about the PubMed article. The upper part of this new section is the non-scorable evidence. If you read a paper and there's nothing in there that could be scored, then you can check this tick box, and you can write a free text comment in the box. The lower part of the panel is for saving any other comments you might have about the paper. You can then choose to select either one or both of these fields and then save them. If you save non-scorable evidence notes, such as I have here, then you'll also see that these have been added to the evidence summary. Right at the bottom of the evidence summary, there's a new table that displays these new data. So your comments on the papers you didn't score evidence from are also now viewable in the evidence summary. So now you have a more complete picture when this evidence summary is being reviewed of all the papers that were considered. Onto human phenotype ontology HPO IDs. Previously, when you added HPO IDs into the genetic evidence sections of the GCI, you added in the HPO IDs, but the terms were not shown, but that's all changed with the release. Here I'm curating in a curate family form, and as you can see, the HPO IDs, the three text boxes have gone and been replaced with these two HPO terms buttons. You'll notice that there is one for both like phenotypes, and then the one underneath you can see for not phenotypes. And I'm just going to show you the phenotypes today, but the functionality is the same for both. So when you click on one of these buttons, up pops the Add HPO Terms modal. If you type in a comment-separated list of HPO terms into the top box, and then save it, the terms will appear within the box. As you can see here, you can see those terms underneath. It will recognize if you've already added a term. So for instance, I added 2 of the same term here and it automatically discarded one of them. You can also peruse your return list and remove any that were added in error by clicking on the trash can icons. Then once you're happy with the list, you save them, and just like magic, they appear in your form. And as you can see, you now have the HPO ID and associated term when available for each phenotype. At any time, if you want to delete or add to the list, then you click back on the HPO terms button, and the modal will reappear, reopen for you to make all the edits that you want, and then you can save it again. We're now also working on incorporating these HPO term pop-up modals into the GCI, so that wherever you add HPO terms throughout the interfaces, you'll be able to bring in the terms as well. I'm hoping that this will be available in the GCI in the next release. We have existing functionality for copying data from a group to an associated family and to an associated individual, etc. And this still works for the HPO IDs and terms. So for the HPO ID, so for the HPO terms they added in family, it can be seen here in the individual form. If I want to copy these family HPO IDs and terms across to the associated individual, then I just click the copy phenotype from associated family button. And these would be copied across then to the individual. Again, you have the option of clicking on HPO terms button if you want to make any modifications to this list. A couple of changes you'll notice in the classification matrix. The GCI has been updated to show the new classification terms. No reported evidence has now been changed to no known disease relationship. A no known disease relationship is automatically classified in the classification matrix when there's no scored genetic evidence and no contradictory evidence. Additionally, an animal model only tag is automatically displayed to no known disease relationship classifications that have only non-human experimental evidence. And this tag pops up upon saving your classification. It's also displayed in the top panel of the evidence summary. I'm reliably thought that's orange, as I'm colorblind, so I'm never sure of these things. Finally, I am pleased to report that we have gene disease record status now available via the ClinGen streaming service. The first consumer of these data is the gene tracking system. So when you're in the GCI and you're about to create a GDM, you see this message at the top here, the one in yellow, which politely asks you to visit the gene tracking system. You should always do this to make sure you've completed all your relevant pre-curation actions. Tools like the tracking system need to know up-to-date information on the status of entries within the GCI, or else they'll quickly get out of sync with the GCI. So this new status messaging solves that issue. Now, when certain actions are taken in the GCI, a message is sent to the streaming service. This includes when a record is first created, when a classification is saved as provisional or approved, and also when it's published or unpublished. And so with any of these 5 actions that I stated, the GCI sends a packet of information to the streaming service with fields that clearly identify the entry and its current status. The gene tracking system can then pick this information up from the streaming service and just keep in sync with the GCI. We also have ongoing work behind the scenes happening right now, whereby we're working towards allowing the publishing of the full classification and associated evidence to the ClinGen website. So that's instead of the abbreviated summary that gets published to the website now, and that work will be ongoing over the summer. So watch this space for news on that. So that's all I have for GCI updates. Does anyone have any questions?